This video is an introduction to the Time tool, which is new in IN-SPIRE 5. The Time tool replaces the Time Slicer from previous versions of IN-SPIRE, and it contains all the same functionality as the Time Slicer and also adds many more features. The Time tool shows the document frequency over time in datasets that have date fields identified. The Time tool is divided into two panes, the bottom and the top. And the bottom pane always shows the full breadth of the data set, the full range. And so in this case, this is a PubMed search on diabetes. And so we have documents from 1965 all the way to the present. The top section shows the detail of the range that is chosen in the bottom section. So you notice down here in the bottom we have these little handles. You can click and drag these handles to select a time range. And as you can see, it automatically updates the top portion and it shows you how many years are shown. And then once we've made a time range, we can drag it around or further adjust it. The units of time that are chosen up here can be chosen to be set automatically to adjust to the range. I had previously set this to years, but now I'm going to set it to let IN-SPIRE choose. And so you can see now it is switched to months, and then as I expand it'll switch back to years, and then as I contract this range it will go back to months. You can also change the view options of this graph. If you don't want the filled line graphs, you can also choose bar graphs to show the exact values on the graph. And regardless of which view you're using, when you hover over a time period, it'll show you how many documents and exactly what bin of time this is. Now, one big change in the new Time tool as compared to the Time Slicer is how it affects the galaxy. In the past, in the Time Slicer, the galaxy would redraw based on what time range you had selected here. And in the new Time tool, that's not the case. But you can get that functionality by choosing Time Filter Time. Now what this does is it has redrawn the galaxy and given it labels that are only showing the documents that are in this time range. And then you can change the time range and the galaxy will update. And so you can see how clusters change over time. And there's also a keystroke to change this time range and jump in groups of whatever the set range is. You can also make a selection directly from here by double-clicking in the selected range. And let me turn my time filter off. You'll notice the time filter, since it changes what's in the galaxy, has a nice big warning here that tells you that your time filter is active. So let me show all the documents now. So you can make a selection from the date range piece. Alternatively, you can also make a selection in the upper view by clicking and dragging. Or if you wanted of just a specific bin, you can double-click on a bin. Another thing you can look at besides documents is groups over time. So if you click on the Groups button here, this whole row here indicates the type of item that you're going to be looking at across time in the top view. And the bottom view always works the same, choosing the range that you want to look at. So the Groups view by default shows you all the documents and what their distribution across time looks like. Let me clear my selection to get rid of that green triangle. Here we go. And now as I choose groups from my Group tool, they will show up in this list and also show you their document frequency across time. And so this makes sense that a data set about diabetes would have an insulin group that seems to match the total data set. Versus now see if I control click on insulin pump. Now I can compare the document frequency of insulin pump to insulin, and you can see that the insulin pump is a relatively new creation that gets talked about starting in the 80s and then gets published more in the 2000s. And you can do any number of these groups. Anything that's in your Groups tool is eligible. And just as in the document view, you can drag selections in this view. and you can also double-click to select a certain bin of time. A third type of information you can look at in the Time tool is terms. So the Terms view shows you the terms in the data set and their distribution across time, and the circles indicate an unexpected or interesting increase. So for example, in this data set we have the term T1DM, and you can see that it's not used until the late 90s, early 2000, and then it is slowly used, and then it has an increase over a few years. So if you want to find out more about a certain term, you can right-click on it and choose Details. And this shows you the themes that are related to the term. These are the themes that are related in time. And then some of them have terms that are also related in time. And so sometimes looking at these themes and terms can help you figure out what a term means and what other things are related to that term. The mathematical algorithm that figures out where these interesting circles should go depends on the time range that you have selected. So if you change your time range, then this refresh button becomes active, and then you can see what's interesting in the currently selected time range. So the new Time tool in IN-SPIRE 5 is a great way to see change over time of your terms and groups and your documents.